Hi everyone, welcome to the Country Sampler Studio. I am coming to you from the Country Sampler Farmhouse style Facebook page today. So some of you may not recognize my face because most of my lives are on the Country Sampler website, Facebook page. So I'm on a different Facebook page today. So thank you for being here, and I hope that you enjoy this little bit of time that we do have to spend together. Today's live is sponsored by Tommy Art DIY Paint Systems, and they were gracious enough to send me some of their products that I thought I might be able to use to put together some more farmhouse type of fall decorations and little projects for us to do so that we could make our own easy projects to start to do a little bit of decorating for fall. I do have to admit, I felt a little bit out of my element because I'm not used to decorating farmhouse style, but I loved doing it. I love the farmhouse look. I love the farmhouse magazine. I love everything about it. And actually there are some simple elements that even for those of us who don't go full out farmhouse, we can bring some of this stuff into our style of decorating as well. So a couple of things that we're going to just focus on today are the signs, because we all know that farmhouse signs are very popular and they're really very easy. So Tommy Art DIY system has some great products that make making your own signs very simple. So I'm going to show you how I did them today. One of them that I did is right here. I did a small one, just a little simple sunflower with the word fall, and then you can see behind me I did a bigger one with the same sunflower stencil, and I just put the word sunflower on it. I'm going to show you how I did both of those things today. I'm going to show you how I did the sunflower, and I'm going to show you how I did the transfer method for the word, because if you're like me, I don't like freehanding. I'm not good at freehanding letters, and I don't have a Cricut, and we all kind of get stuck on how am I going to get these letters onto a sign, but I'll show you the easy way to do it today. I know you can't see this real well, but the idea that we're doing today with this sunflower is that we are using some of the products from the Tommy Art line that will give it a raised texture. So when you see it in person, you can tell that it's got a little bit of a 3D element to it. It's not just a flat stencil. I hate stenciling. I really do, because I never do it well, and it always bleeds out from under it for me, so I don't do it very often. But this turned out great with this product that I added to the paint to give it the little bit more thickness, and it kind of, like I said, it's got a raised texture, and then you can give it even a little bit more color after that point. So I'm just going to show you real quick how I did that, and it's very, very simple. So I've already got my stencil. I just ordered a simple sunflower stencil, and I've got it painted on my whiteboard. With this product, and I don't have my glasses on, so I got to make sure that I say this correctly, so I'm going to put my glasses on because it's very small. The 3D Dust Crackle, that's what it is, okay? This is a 3D Dust Crackle. It's literally a powdered dust, all right? So you don't want to shake it too much once you open it and all that good stuff, because it's very powdery. But you just add this to your paint in a 1-to-1 ratio and mix it up real good, and it creates a paste. So you just dump a little bit out on a plate, put about the same amount of paint that you need, and for what I'm doing, I really don't need that much, but I'm just going to kind of blob it in there. I'm going to take my putty knife real quick, and I'm just going to stir it up, and it is really kind of like you're baking here because it's very powdery and it kind of goes everywhere just like flour, so you got to be kind of careful. I made a mess more than once when I was doing this, but I'm going to try to do it quickly so that I don't have to make you stand there and wait, or sit there and wait, or stand, whatever you're doing. If you're sitting or standing, I don't want you to have to wait on me. I need a little bit more paint here. But you just mix it in a quick 1-to-1 ratio, like I said. And I always start out with a smaller amount because I don't want to be wasteful, of course. But once this gets to a little bit of a paste, a little bit of a putty, okay, then you literally apply it with this putty knife. You can't paint it on because it's too thick. You just smear it on, which is perfect, because that's the part about doing a stencil that I don't like. I always end up with too much paint on the little foam brush, and I always end up with it going underneath it, like I said. So with this, all I'm going to do is literally like I'm putting spackle onto a wall, okay? I want the outer pieces, the outer petals of my stencil to get full. So I'm just going to kind of like, it's like I'm filling them in. I'm just filling them in. I'm putting a putty on it. So I'm filling them in. I'm avoiding the center because I want the center to be the darker color. I don't want the center to be yellow, obviously, because it's a sunflower. So I would just go all the way around and smear this on, okay? Go all the way around it. Keep just smearing it on. And I'm not going to do the whole thing on camera. I'm just kind of showing you the method here. Smear it on just like that. And you don't even have to wait for it to dry, okay? You can just take it off. And let me just show you how easy that was. I'm going to cross my fingers that I did an okay job on camera. Yeah, I put a little too much on, but you can just peel it off and let it dry, okay? I let it dry completely, and then I went back in, put the stencil back in the same place, mixed up a different color, and then I did the middle, okay? So on my particular one, I did all the outer ring. I did this in a darker color from the Tommy paint line, and then I did a little bit of green, okay? I didn't give this any texture because I didn't think it was necessary, but I really wanted these seeds in the center to have a raised texture, and they do. And when you see it in person, you can see that it's very textured. Then I let the whole thing dry, and the finishing touch, which I absolutely love, I went back in with this copper mineral paint. It's shiny, copper metallic paint, and I went in and I sponge painted just around the edge with the stencil on. The stencil has to be on. So once it's dry, you can just kind of go back in and lay the stencil over top of it. And I sponged the outer rim of it to give it the copper kind of shine, okay, just on the outer part. And that's how I got this. It's just gorgeous. It's a really pretty sunflower, okay? And like I said, it's got this really nice texture to it. Makes it a little bit different, gives it a little bit more interest. Now, let's talk about how I did the fall word. This is, I'm not going to say me being lazy. It's just, I think, it's me being smart. Transfer gel. If you don't know what transfer gel is, you might want to look into it if you want to make some signs, because it makes getting the words onto the signs super easy, super, super easy. And this is what you do. You print out a word that you want to put on a sign in whatever font that you want, and you print it out backwards. Okay, so however big you need it, whatever font you like, just print it out and just flip the image, horizontal image, before you print it out. All right, then you take the board that you want to put it on. And this was, I have to admit, it was a little bit of a trial and error process for me to begin with. So that's why I'm doing this and telling you. But they also have videos of pretty much everything that I'm doing with you right now. And if you forget what I'm doing, they have these videos on their website, the Tommy Art DIY paint system. They're all on their website. So check that out if you want to go back and look a little closer. But this is a clear gel. It's white in the container. It's called transfer gel. And you put it on just like paint. You can see it to begin with, okay? You can see it on here so you can tell where you've been. But you want to make sure that you don't leave blobs, okay? So I'm kind of going over it a couple times to make sure it's nice and smooth. I put it on the board. I'm also going to put it on my word, okay? So I'm going to same method here. I'm just going to go and put it over the ink. And smooth so that I don't want a lot of excess. You don't want a lot of excess, but you want it on both surfaces. Because what this transfer gel is going to do on your board is it's going to grab that ink, and it's going to, when you take the paper off, leave the ink on the board, which is what we're trying to accomplish. So obviously the smoother the board is that you start with, the better the transfer is going to be. The one behind me, because we all know Farmhouse and country decorating in general, we like these old boards. We don't like starting with new boards that look too perfect. We like the old boards. This can get a little tricky if you're using an old board, only because the surface is going to be a little bit more bumpy. And obviously, if you don't get the paper pressed down into all of the grooves, you're not going to get the ink on there either. So you got to watch out for that. But I'm using a newish board. It's new. It's not an old board. And then you're just going to notice I'm just pressing it on really well, because the transfer gel was on the board and the transfer gel is on the paper. You can go back in with, I don't know, something, and either roll it down. You can take maybe a lid of something and kind of, push on it. Whatever you have on hand is fine. But get all the air bubbles out. Make sure that that word has direct contact with the board, okay? Now, this needs to dry for quite a while. The longer, the better. So I did one yesterday, and I let it dry overnight. Because now you're probably wondering, what in the world are you going to do? Because now you just have a piece of paper stuck to a board with the word underneath it. Well, this is actually the easy part. I'm going to grab all of this other paper that didn't stick and just peel it off. Then I have a little spray bottle right here. Doesn't have to be a spray bottle if you just have a little bit of water and you want to rub it on with your hand. But all I'm going to do is spray this paper and let it soak in for a minute. It's got to soak enough because what you're trying to do here is it's kind of like wallpaper. Have you ever taken wallpaper off of a wall and you know that if you get it soaking wet, that you have a better chance of getting it off the wall? It's kind of like that. I'm soaking the paper because I want the glue to stick to the board, but I don't want the paper there, okay? So this part can be a little tedious, all right? But you're getting the perfect printed image of the word on your board without having to trace it, without having to try to freehand it, that kind of thing. So it's, it's a little bit of effort, but I think it's worth it. So literally all you do is you just stand here and with your fingers gently just get to the edge of your paper and start rolling, okay? Just roll, and if it doesn't feel like it's coming up, then give that spot a little bit more water and then just let it sit a little bit longer. Because you should be able to just roll this paper right off the board, all right? So you just kind of keep doing that. You just kind of keep rubbing, and you'll see how the more I rub, all these little paper trail doodads, they're going to come off. And I'm just rubbing and I'm rubbing and I'm rubbing. The farther down I get, I might need to re-wet, but look, see, I got my D showing up pretty good already. Now, if it doesn't adhere perfectly, it's not a problem, okay? You're going to rub as much of it off as you possibly can. And then what I found to be a good, just kind of an intermediate step, if you pull off some of the word, okay, don't panic. You don't have to do it all over again. Just take a black, probably flat, you don't want it to be glossy, but a flat paint marker, and just go back in and fill it in, okay? Now, if you're like me, I would probably distress this a little bit after the fact anyway, so I don't necessarily want it to be perfectly crisp, but it depends on what look you're going for. You can make it perfectly crisp by just going back in and filling in, okay? So that's not a problem. You're going to just keep rubbing, getting off as much as you can. If you want to take a clean cloth, okay, you can also do that, a very, very soft cloth. You can wet it down a little bit and also just kind of go over it a final time to get off all these little pieces with a cloth. You can do that as well, okay? But then once you touch it up, all I did on mine was I touched it up a little bit, and then I went and I put a final coat of the transfer gel over it to kind of seal it, okay? You could use transfer gel and let it dry. You can use clear wax and let it dry, whatever you want to do, but it does kind of need a final coat of something to make it really pop and look finished, okay? So once you get it all rubbed off and you get it all the glue and everything, the paper and everything off that you want, you've touched it up, put a little bit of wax on it, put a little bit of transfer gel on it, let it dry, and you're good to go, okay? So that's all I did. And that's, like I said, to me that's easier than trying to stencil because I hate stenciling, and we don't all have a Cricut. And if you want to make a sign every once in a while, it's not worth investing in a Cricut. So that's how I did this sign, and that's how I did this sign, and I think that one turned out really cute. I love the typewriter font on the word sunflower. So simple signs, but a really easy way to do that with the transfer gel and with their 3D crackle paint to make it textured. Okay, so those are two really good products. The other product that I really enjoyed using was just this paint, this shiny paint. And copper is a really popular color right now in farmhouse decorating and kind of across the board. So I just really had a lot of fun coming up with a couple of ways to use it and to incorporate it into some things that we already have. Just starting with a simple vase. Like, I probably picked this up at the Goodwill. These are simple vases. They're not expensive at all. And all I did was tape off about halfway up where I wanted it. I took a regular old paintbrush, just like this one, and I brushed strokes around it. I didn't really want it to be perfectly smooth. I kind of like the fact that you could see the lines. I think I did 2 coats. This one only has 1 coat to get this full effect that I've got going on back here. And on this one, I even did 2 different layers. I was just having fun playing around. So I used the darker color paint down here on the bottom, and then I skipped a little bit and I did a copper paint here. And so you could kind of make a trio of them, you know, for a little grouping that you've got going on. And then I just filled this with some corn down there, and then these are just a black bean, just for the season, so that it looks very harvesty and very fall. And put it in my little tray along with this one once it's finished, and you got a little trio of easy peasy but kind of like high-end looking, because we've got this really nice mineral copper glow going on. So it's just really pretty, and it's very easy and smooth to put on. The other thing that I did, very simple, 2 regular pumpkins, okay? We all know that you can paint pumpkins. It's very, very easy. You pick them up very cheap. They're ugly because you don't like the color of them when you buy them. Just paint them. You know that you can paint them. So here's what I did. Very, very simple. I took a dark, here it is. I took the dark color here and I painted into the grooves before we even got on camera, and I let that dry. Then I just took some copper and this fun little sponge. These guys are fun. These little cheap sponges that you can just dab on. And then I just literally took time to start dabbing. And again, it's a little time consuming. You just dab, dab, dab all the way around until you're covered as much as you want. Just keep on dabbing. Maybe it needs 2 coats depending on how much you want to see the dark and how much you want to see the orange coming through. It's totally up to you, because this is not rocket science and there is no special formula. I'm just dabbing, okay? So you just keep doing that, and you cover it as much as you want. But that's all it is just create a really fun looking set of pumpkins. You leave some of that dark underneath there to come through, but like I said, I only put it in the grooves, so I didn't have to cover it up. It didn't take me as long. But how fun is that? That's just so pretty. It just looks expensive, and it's not, because it's just a plastic pumpkin that I painted copper. So I like the control that you have instead of using the spray paint. I like the control of being able to put it right where I want it, okay? So it doesn't just give a whole coverage. That's what I like about this, having it in a jar and being able to put it on the way I want it. So I really like that. It just gives you a nice end product, and it's just really cute. Okay, so what else do I have? Oh, look how cute this is. A little metal plate, or a little tray. It was a tray, and I even have one sitting right here. I don't know where I got these, but I'm sure they were cheap. It just started out looking like this, okay? So all I did was, didn't even tape it off. All I wanted was the outer rim to be copper. So I gave it 2 coats of copper. And on this, here's a little secret. I did want it to be a little smoother, okay? So if you have a spray paint can, it's usually pretty smooth, but with a brush, it's not always. I just, as I was painting, sprayed the outer rim a little bit, just a little bit. And then when I applied the paint, it just watered it down enough to kind of give me a smoother run, okay? And I just tried to be careful where I stopped and started. And I think it took 2 coats, which is not a big deal. It usually does take 2 coats to cover something. I only painted, I make sure I got in this groove in here, but I didn't go in. This whole thing did not get copper. And the back of it didn't get any copper. It's not pretty on the back. And then once that was dry, I just kind of took some chalkboard paint and freehanded on the inside where I wanted that edge to be. You could tape it if you want to, but I'm always afraid I'm going to pull paint off. So I just did that on the inside. And then I just drew a simple little fall pumpkin. You could say happy fall. You could write whatever message you want on that. It could be on the wall. This could be, like I have it right here on the stand. You can do whatever you want, but it's just, there's so many things you can do with this copper paint to really just spice up all of your projects. It's just so fun, and just like I said, I love it. It's so pretty. Here's another quick example of a piece that I had. I didn't go fall with it, but you can do whatever you want. I just had this piece of salvage that I think it's from a broken headboard or piece of furniture or something. It was a top to something, but I just painted it with the white paint and did the transfer method for the welcome, because again, I didn't want to have to stencil it or do anything difficult, but I just did the transfer, got my word on here, okay? So that's another simple example. And then I think that might be everything I did with paint, but I wanted to show you this too real quick, because this is super cute. But the last time I went out shopping for bargains, I found some really inexpensive placemats. I'm going to be careful I don't get paint on it. Very inexpensive placemats. And it's only one layer. So you've probably done the trick with when you buy a placemat, open up an end of it, stuff it, and you have this little cute pillow. I couldn't do that with this because it was only one layer. But what I could do was buy a second similar type of placemat with only one layer. And all I did was go in and stitch them together on the sides. Okay, so they both had fringes. So I could have chosen to make them flatter so the fringes didn't stick out. But I thought I would try first to just see what it looked like with fringes sticking out. But I basically just made a little sleeve for my pillow. Okay, there's nothing on this pillow underneath it. It's blank. But how fun is that to just take $2 placemats? So I have $4 in this. It's not a new pillow. I didn't have to buy the stuffing. You know, it didn't cost me any more than $2, and the thread that I stitched it up with. Even if you don't want to do the thread, you could hot glue it together and just hot glue the edges of it and slide it in. So that's all I did, was just slip it right over my pillow. Okay, so I thought that was a super fun and easy way to transfer some of your regular old pillows that you have sitting around into a fall pillow, and then you can just slip it right off and put on the next one for the next season. So I like that idea. So hopefully, between our paint projects and this project, one of these is something that you can take away and try to do some version of your own. I would really hope that you always can take something away and use it in your own projects. That's the goal. We just want to show you to give you some inspiration and some ideas, and hope that you can run with it. So thank you for joining me today, as always, and I'll see you on my next live video, probably back on the Country Sampler website, but that's okay. Thank you for letting me come share some ideas with you today from the Farmhouse Style website. I'll see you later.